want to live? I suggest not doing drugs and having sex. Run through the forest grasping for breath as you're chased by a maniac wearing a mask of flesh, tripping over dead friends. This isn't over until you get revenge. Final girls try to survive in a violent world. It's eye for an eye. Hide behind doors, lying underneath beds, trying to bide your time and find your strength, and figure out how much time it takes to escape before it's too late, or come face to face with a grim fate. Welcome to ClassHorrorCast. Let's see how long you last as you torture to death. So come join your host Darren and Tomcat as we bring you a podcast that will leave you laughing in a body bag or a bloodbath. Welcome to ClassHorrorCast. Let's see how long you last.
Indeed, welcome to another, I suppose, mini deep dive, if you want to call it that. It's what I would consider an underrated 2000s horror movie. Today we're revisiting a film that took childhood legend and turned it into pure nightmare fuel. We're talking about 2003's or 2001. I'm not sure what year. I've seen multiple different years put up for this. We're talking about Darkness Falls, a film that gave the Tooth Fairy a terrifying twist, blended supernatural horror with slasher elements, and left a lasting impact on horror fans in the early 2000s, for better or for worse. Who am I joined with today, and can you remember the first time you saw this movie?
I am the Reptilian. My name is Tomcat. I like how your Irish accent, you said Tooth Fairy. Like you're like, Tooth Fairy. But you said, because you said quickly, it kind of sounded like Mike Tyson. Come on,
nice.
Tooth Fairy. I'm the host of Strange Brew Podcast, along with my co-host of Strange Brew Podcast. But we also do ClassHorrorCast, and that's who we are. That's what we are. What we do. I'm also a hip hop artist. For those of you that don't know, so you can look up the Reptilian. Yes, kind of a ridiculous name, but it's stuck. So check it out. And interestingly enough, I was like kind of excited to watch this because I haven't seen it. And oh god, like I don't even, maybe I saw it like I would think maybe 2 or 3 times when I was a kid. But I probably haven't seen it in, I don't know, like 17 years or something like that, like a long time. And it is such a strange thing because it's the time era. But I've mentioned this friend all the time, Austin. It's like, this is who I'd hang out with, right? One of my best friends when I was growing up. That me and him definitely like rented this. I'm for sure. I feel like I can remember, especially the cover of it. Yeah, not that cover, like the original with the lighthouse one.
Yeah.
I can remember like going to the convenience store, I feel like, and it was kind of like in the just slightly came out. Yeah, it's exactly like that. And it had the sticker, like the little like the Velcro sticker thing that you'd pull. Do you remember? Did you have those?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and then you could see it, they have it on display so you could see which ones were in and which ones were out. And if you could, it's such a different time. And I almost missed that. I was making a video about like Canada, what it means to be Canadian stuff recently. And it was just like looking at old footage of like Canada. And I almost rather live either in the 90s or even further back. Like I couldn't do this show to some extent. Like I obviously love doing podcasting, but there's a part of me that looks back at that nostalgic time. And my buddy sent me a video of like the like a kind of montage of the early 2000s where it's like Limp Bizkit and like Blockbuster and all these, and it's just I kind of miss it, and I don't know, I didn't have to worry about all these things that are going on in the world, and the world doesn't seem to be going in a very good direction.
We probably would have had a pirate radio show or something like that.
I know, and like it just was a different time. And you go to the this movie came out on VHS or DVD, but mostly for me it was VHS for the beginning, and then DVD started coming in a little later on. And you go and you're like, oh no, like the new movie's not out, so you have to go pick another one. May have been one of those choices. Like I remember the one time, like we're going to get the most popular movie or whatever, and then I can't remember at the time, whatever it was, and then another thing I would like to cover, and I think we like chose Hollow Man, and then like the parents of my friend were like I don't know if this is a good choice, but like that would be a weird conversation, and it's the same kind of feel and time as this. of just remembering like going there and then that sound of untaking the Velcro little sticky, like look at a little stop sign off, and then giving it to them, and then getting it, and then going back home, and then
yeah, I missed that investment. Like
yeah, you had
getting
pop and chip
a
night.
movie, yeah, like getting a movie and stuff was like a real event, and like you were invested for better or for worse. Like even if you picked a movie like this, and you know, some people would love it, some people would hate it, but you were still invested. You committed to it. It was like, well, that's the movie we've got.
And now, and even like we would go rent movies from convenience stores before I ever saw like a Blockbuster, and a Blockbuster was like, I don't know, later on, like we started going to convenience store and how all the movies on display. Like half of the convenience store was just movies. It's not like that anymore. You know, it's a lot different. It's just a lot of like unhealthy food and cigarettes. There's always cigarettes there, but it was most like you know, you had your snacks and your food, but half of the store was literally a movie store. And we did that for a long time. Then I feel like around like I don't know why that does that. That's the weirdest thing. Do
I
you hear that?
don't hear that anymore.
So weird. I hope it's just just me. It's only started recently. That is so weird. I don't know why it would do that. Maybe I need to let's get a new mic cord. I might have to do that. And then like I remember like kind of just I lost our train of thought. And then by the time I was like 10 or 11, I think when I started going to Blockbuster and when eventually we get in like Scooby-Doo, like I distinctly remember renting Scooby-Doo and Blair Witch. And I just remember being so scared in my basement. And I'll save that for that episode. But like that was like when I first experienced Blockbuster, I was like, wow. Just movies. And they like obviously popcorn and stuff, but it just had a different feel. And there's so much more. Like they only had a couple shelves when it came to the convenience store, but you just like walk along and there would be like the complete horror section with like every horror movie you can imagine. It's just a different time. And
Dude,
I missed it. I want to go back there.
Same. I always say to myself, like, I'd love to be in a position to make money and from stuff like this and buy like a property or a unit and be able to have like a kind of like a bar slash like movie store, like but open
like
during the day.
Smodcastle for Kevin Smith. He has
Yeah.
Smodcastle, which he just like plays whatever movies he wants to, and then he sells tickets, right? And like,
I'd love to just have a place like that because I feel like there's a lot of people that feel like us that just want those places to come back and those things to come back. So before we dive into this, then everybody needs to make sure to turn on every light because obviously we'll find out in the lore in this that for some reason she is like scared of light, but then also she's in the light all the time as well, which is a bit another weird thing.
get your flashlights.
Stay out of the dark, and let's get ready to talk about the Tooth Fairy like you've never heard her before.
Whenever one of them lost a tooth, they would bring it to her in exchange for a gold coin, earning her the name, the Tooth Fairy. But when two children didn't come home, they blamed Matilda, and they hanged her in the light.
Hung her. Billy would say it's hung, but it's actually hang because it's past tense.
Oh, yeah.
Some people might find this joke inappropriate, but you could classify as the Jew fairy, but they would take the gold coins from underneath your pillow and give you back a tooth.
So yeah, for people that don't know, the story focuses on a vengeful spirit that has taken the form of the Tooth Fairy to exact revenge on the town that lynched her 150 years earlier. Her only opposition is the only child now grown up who has survived her before. That's a really like terrible way of explaining the movie. So
yeah,
for me, I feel like this movie has so much potential. A lot of clever things. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know from listening to the commentaries and looking at some of the behind the scenes. And I guarantee you'll be like, of course this had to happen. We'll start to realize pretty quick what actually went wrong here, and a lot of it wasn't to do with the filmmakers. This had 5 other titles before it became Darkness Falls, actually. So originally it was going to be called The Tooth Fairy, based on a short by let me get the guy's name. Joe Harris made a short called The Tooth Fairy. I don't know how many years ago, 20 something.
It's not that awful movie with the rock in it, is it?
No. And basically, for people who haven't seen it or have no intentions of ever watching it, it I'll just give you like a quick rundown of what it is. I did have it in my notes here somewhere.
While you're getting that ready, I just want to tell you that like I didn't see this for like, whatever, 17 years or some shit. And then watching it with my wife, I can say that she was thoroughly disappointed in the movie. But I was enjoying it. I was like, wow, I remember this. Wow. And there's like, I couldn't remember a lot of it, but there were certain scenes that I was like, oh man, I remember this weird. Like, and it would just like pop in, like there'd be like, I always remember the ending, something about a lighthouse. It was at the same time as like The Ring. They also go to a lighthouse or some shit, or she's like in a lighthouse. But it was just like there was moments where I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this, and or like, oh, this like kind of popped in my head. But I always remembered like the ending was at a lighthouse. But
Yeah,
she needs something a little more substance. I like my trash, right? I like to like dig through the trash. I'm the trash man. Oh, do I have that anywhere? I might actually. Give me a sec. Do I have it? Just keep talking. I'll find it.
So yeah, the short film, not bad actually. So it's just like your
I've
basic
never
short.
seen it.
It's a kid going to bed. He's waiting for the tooth fairy to come. He's lost a tooth. Something appears. You can't see it. He's like, it's like shown. We're looking at the kid, and something
Mhm.
lights up. Kind of looks like a bright, like kind of a gold color, like something glowing in front of him. And this coin lands on the bed, and then out of nowhere, like all these gold coins start falling onto the bed, and the kid is all like, "Oh, woohoo! Everything's great, the tooth fairy." And then you see this weird, like, kind of looks like the clothes of like the Dementor or something in Harry Potter. Kind of just goes like past the screen,
Mhm.
and then you hear the kid scream, and it pans to downstairs. The mother's like calling his name, whatever his name is. She runs up to the bedroom, and when it pans across to the kid again, he's on the bed, and his eyes have been sewn together. It's actually a
That's
pretty
good.
like freaky looking effect. His eyes have been sewn together, and there's a note pinned to his chest saying "not good enough."
How
I don't
weird.
I don't know what the relevance that is, but supposedly that was enough
He
for
wasn't very good in bed.
for well, Christ, for Sony to be like, yeah, we want to like this is like a really good idea for a feature film.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
Yes,
That's
you
it.
do.
That's what my wife would probably think of. Like, it's like you like
Um,
trash.
So yeah, the original working title was Tooth Fairy. Then they had Don't Peek
Copyright issues.
was another one.
Don't peek.
Yeah, just Don't Peek.
Well, that's how lazy they're getting. Like that. Don't breathe.
We
Just
had
keep it short and
Fear of
sweet.
the Dark. Pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Matilda Dixon was another one.
No.
And
It sounds like a 1930s, like actually it'd be like maybe like an 1860s like ghost tale. You know what I mean?
this is my least favorite and absolute like trash, like garbage bag name is the Tooth Fairy. Every legend has its dark side.
No.
Wow.
Why
Wow,
not just
that
call
sounds
it Dark
like
Side of
fucking-
Legends or something?
That sounds like a fucking a tagline for like a WWE pay-per-view or something.
Terrible.
So yeah, it was made off the back of this short film. They got the guy to write like a feature-length script, which is pretty cool, I guess, for him. He made a short movie and it got turned into a fucking a big motion picture. The guy that they got to direct is Jonathan Liebsman, who has gone on since to do some notable stuff in there. He has done the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. He done that movie Wrath of the Titans, Battle Los Angeles. He done Rings. And probably most notable what he done, and I actually enjoyed it, was he directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning.
Yeah, I enjoy that movie for what it's worth. We talked about it. It's better than some stuff now, that's for sure.
You know what's funny? He hated horror and didn't want to direct this movie, right? And he directed it because his agent or whatever said, like, this is your way into Hollywood. He wanted to do drama movies only, which is kind of funny considering that he made this movie under those pretenses. His next movie was Rings, then the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Then Battle Los Angeles was just about aliens. Wrath of the Titans, which is kind of like a horror adjacent kind of thing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and most recently he directed 4 episodes of the Halo TV show.
What Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one did he do?
2014.
Was that like the remake, right? But
Yeah.
that wasn't it. The other guy, the famous guy, Michael Bay or something. Wasn't it him, or he's produced it?
He's the producer, I think. This guy was the director.
I'm not gonna lie. I know that Megan Fox is most likely a man, but I do actually really enjoy the Ninja Turtle movies for what it's worth. I don't know, like I enjoyed. I think because they did 2 of them, right? I enjoyed it for what it is. I thought they were fairly entertaining, and I've always kind of liked the Ninja Turtles, even when they were just goofy suits. I think that's like kind of what made it. At some point, maybe we might need to do like a off brand episode on that, because I feel like it's something that we a lot of us grew up on, especially if you're like 90s kids like us.
I'm just gonna get the taglines out of the way and just see which ones you rate and which ones you hate. First one is every legend has its dark side.
Typical. It's not terrible, right?
Evil rises.
No,
Stay in the light.
it's too simple. It's too
My personal favorite is the last one. I think it was actually used on a lot of the DVD covers, over here at least. An eye for an eye, your life for a tooth.
no.
It's so bad.
no, I don't like it.
That's so bad.
Garbage.
But imagine like some executive probably sat in the boardroom and went, an eye for an eye, your life for a tooth. Wow. Oh, I'm so clever.
I'm
Wow.
a genius.
I can't believe I fucking came up with that. That's on the front of my DVD. Down here at the bottom.
Eye for an eye. Tooth for a tooth.
Actually, let me read what the back of the DVD says. So this is weird. It has like, it looks like multiple like synopsis on the back of it. So it says, as a young boy, Kyle claimed to have seen the Tooth Fairy. He also claimed she tried to kill him. When evil emerges again, Kyle must return home to confront his troubled past and save his childhood sweetheart Caitlin and her younger brother Michael. Kyle must do battle with a winged creature of doom that he saw that night many years ago, which has plagued the town of Darkness Falls for over 150 years. Evil is back with a vengeance, and it's not leaving without Caitlin's brother.
It could be worse, you know.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I know this movie. I don't know. There's this is so funny because we like trash. As I said, I'm the trash man. But there's so many similarities to like the early 2000s, 90s movies of like the boyfriend sneaking in the bedroom. Another thing that was done, and I was like, I never had that happen. And Chelsea's like, well, you were too young or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean, man?
You were just up in the bedroom already fucking.
Priest was sneaking into my room. I'm just kidding. I was not religious, but my uncle kept sneaking into my room for some strange reason, but he just came through the door.
That's like that. That's like that. I don't know if you've ever heard that Joey Diaz joke he tells on Tom Segura's podcast where he's talking about rimming a chick and Tom Segura's wife is like, oh yeah, something about blacking out, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll tell you, dog, when I stick my tongue in your asshole, you black out. It's like you're 14 again and your uncle's molesting you.
It's so bad. We have a dark sense of humor. We've said some dark things on my show, especially, but it's you gotta, like you say, if you're not laughing, you're crying. So
I literally was just about to say that.
And it is like that's just nostalgia. You think of Scream, this movie, the same thing. But I think it's the girl that breaks into his room, right? And this is what that's the chick from Lemony Snicket's, when she's younger. Remember Lemony Snicket's?
A kid at the start.
A series of unfortunate events. Yeah.
Yeah, but the kid that shows up at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
And you know what else she's in?
Emily Browning or something.
You should know this.
Oh yeah, she's in Ghost Ship as a little girl.
She's the kid, yeah.
She's the only one that survives because she's short.
I literally didn't realize that, and I heard something in the commentary, and I was like, "Wait, what?" It's like, how did I not recognize her? I've seen that movie so
I don't
many.
want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do a talk about Ghost Ship, but I would do a commentary because
Ghost Ship
it's.
is one of those movies I love, but it's so fucking bad. Like I
I
would rate
watched it.
this
I
as
watched it
bad.
not recently, dude, and it's like
Overall, this movie for me is better than Ghost Ship.
yeah, I agree. But Ghost Ship is something that was like a memorable from the obviously opening scenes and stuff like that.
Do you know what? This I seen people online actually argue this point, and I would say I guess there's a case for it. People were saying that give me another average movie other than Ghost Ship that has an incredible opening scene and then just has a pretty mediocre average movie
Yeah.
afterwards. And obviously they were mentioning Ghost Ship. And you know what the most answered movie was other than Ghost Ship? Darkness Falls.
Huh. The intro is pretty like
Oh,
gnarly.
dude, I love that. That was made by a company called so the
Why did you-
prologue scene.
yeah.
It's made by a company called Imaginary Forces, who also done the opening for that movie Seven with Brad Pitt
Yeah, I haven't
and
seen that in a
Munich
long
and a
time.
couple of others. I love like all the old photos and stuff and like how they kind of explain the backstory a little bit about Matilda Dixon. I did really like that, and I also like that opening scene with Kyle when he's young at home and like the whole Tooth Fairy thing, and he's like in the bathroom.
Yeah, but I know it's like it's so funny because like I liked it, but like the wife's reaction was like this, like how it's like it's just because he's in the light. But if even my wife made the point that like if she's this like ethereal like paranormal powerful ghost creature, like she can't just like knock out the lights or like cut the power. And then like I liked it the scene where she's like above the door, kind of just like in her dress is like flowing. And it's just kind of a like if you were some powerful witch type creature, you think that you would have the power to like go into the light. But it's just like a fun trope, I guess. They to have something. Every monster needs its weakness. Frankenstein's was a little girl until he choked her to death. Didn't he kill the little girl in Frankenstein?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny, right? That there's a lot of stuff that they had planned to put in this to explain a lot of this shit, and like it just gradually got cut out, or they weren't allowed to shoot it, or they weren't allowed to film it, or whatever.
Typical.
And like it's crazy because the end credits of this movie are 11 and a half minutes long.
Is that
There's
long
like
or short? I don't know.
that's like super long, and the reason that they're like 11 and a half minutes long is because the runtime was so short. They had cut away so much of the movie that it wasn't actually deemed long enough to release. So
Wow.
they had to, if you look at some of it, there's like 10, 12 seconds between names, which they had to do on purpose to make the runtime, whatever, 86 minutes, which is crazy to me. It's like you allowed them to film footage and then told them to take it out of the movie. And then the movie ended up being too short, so you had to make the credits longer to make it.
That's why I hate producers.
Yeah. And like this movie got royally like doggy style, like straight in, no kissing by executives in the studio. I think originally this was written as a rated R movie, way more graphic. The creature was completely different, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but the creature in this movie was completely different. Did not look like the
Oh
way
yeah,
that it was looking at all. It
weird.
looked like
Way
some
different.
big giant angel of death.
Oh, that's cool. That'd be way better.
Yep. And
Oh, let's just put it in a
story-
dress and a porcelain mask. That's fucking smart.
the story was way different. This was all had been designed. Like these are all actual images of the
Wow, and then all
actual,
that money that they waste all the time.
and so much so, right? It got changed that late in the game that McFarlane Toys were doing like a Monster Maniacs line that year. And the
Yeah.
toy they released was to coincide with the movie, ended up being they had already made the old design, which they didn't realize till afterwards the studio had changed. So then they couldn't put Darkness Falls on the
I didn't
box.
know that. That's just so disappointing. I've been
Yep.
watching Comic Book Man again, and I'm enjoying it because it's very nostalgic to me. I watched it like Oh, like it's been around for years, right? And looking through some of the toy designs and stuff, like there's just one guy wanted to buy the tortured souls, and the guys
Oh,
are
cool.
so cool, and the guys are like joking, like, "Did you really?" His like girlfriend broke up with him, and he had to sell them at some point or whatever. And now that his girlfriend was broken up with him, he had to like, he's like, "I'm gonna buy them all back," and he's like, you're gonna take your manhood back," and it's like that show was very nostalgic. I watched it at I think more of a rough time in my life, and it was just like very mindless and like just nerds being nerds, and we're nerds to some extent when it comes to like this podcast, right? We're horror nerds, if anything. I'm kind of an overall nerd in some aspects of things I
Same.
enjoy, cinema and stuff. But it's cool to see some of those toy designs that like McFarlane did. It's fucking gnarly. Some of them are so cool looking, and I'm like, I love Spawn, and I wish I kept my like. You wish you keep those things, and you did never realize it, right? It looks
You know,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I know,
And
yeah, and like throw
you
the
take
stuff away.
off your dress. Ooh.
Like even you can see the
It's kind of like
designer and stuff.
reptilian esque, like
Yeah, and like it had this weird thing where like its body was made up of like it was obviously
oh,
all children. They were supposed to be like kids' teeth. She would take them and like,
ah,
put them into her, and it was supposed to be really grotesque and like bloody. And she would also, when it got to the stage where it was like your final tooth fell out, she wouldn't just take the tooth and kill you. She would actually rip your lower jaw off.
that's cool.
Like it was supposedly in the script, there was scenes of like young kids that had like their whole face ripped apart. And
Why
like
is
she
everyone so sensitive? Thanks, like the Columbine shooters and stuff, because I like what it shifted things at this time with stuff like that was going on. I think it looks gnarly. It kind of looks like the guy from the Wax movie, which
yeah,
I
yeah,
absolutely want to cover. Like I'm
yeah, it does
waiting for us to
actually.
do that.
Fair
Um,
points.
that's something that we should do for sure for Shizzy. But like it's way like I think it looks way better. Like it's just sad that I don't know, man. Everything has to be toyed with for so long. It also reminds me very much of Japanese legend. I think it's like I'll never remember the name. But there's this Japanese legend about a similar kind of creature who has like a slit mouth, and then the mouth opens up and stuff like that. And all the time and effort that these special effects and makeup artists and designers and everything that they did to put work into this and to make the prosthetics for everything, and it's just like a wasted money and time. And that's what it seems like Hollywood love to do, is waste everybody's time. Like this new Snow White movie, it's got terrible reviews. Like everything they do and they're pumping out is mostly garbage, just to try to draw in money for people.
And
And it's always the people the producers that back it. Understand something. There's people out there that are creative and want to put out art, so to speak, right? Especially in the element of like cinema and even music that this happens to too. Let it be. And if you're gonna put money behind it, trust the directors, the writers, the actors, trust the people that are creating the art, rather than you want to be like, well, we could make some cuts here and we could cut this, and then you're wasting your own money anyway of the stuff they've already developed. Because this sounds like it would be way better. And I was gonna say that like they should redo this now. Then you know
yeah,
what I
because
mean,
it
and do it
has. I think it's
justice.
a good. There's a good backstory. There's good lore there. I think you
Yeah,
can make a really good movie. And like so the original version of the script, the creature actually was only going to be seen properly at the end of the movie. And what was going to happen was,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you look at the movie and you can see it in parts where, so you know the scene where he's in the bar with Larry, the
yeah,
fucking lawyer guy or whatever he is,
yeah, yeah.
and he's looking around all sketchy and whatever. I remember there's two guys at the bar, and he's like, "Oh, that's that dude that like killed his mother or whatever."
Mhm.
So there was supposed to be a little bit more that was cut away, where he had said, so originally the opening was supposed to be a kid in a classroom, and he was telling this story about the Tooth Fairy, and like it was like the legend or whatever. And then it would show Kyle as a kid, and he got into an altercation with another kid, and he ends up stabbing him with a pencil or something like that, or a pen. And then when it cuts forward to those later scenes, that's the guy that he stabs in the classroom for making fun of him.
Mm.
And the guy is like, "Oh, he stabbed me in the back or something." The other guy's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And he's like, "No, no, he literally stabbed me in the back when we were kids." And then they talk about when he says about, oh, that's the guy who killed his mother. The whole idea is supposed to be the audience wouldn't find out until the last act of the movie that the Tooth Fairy is actually real. You're led to believe that Kyle is like some psychotic, like it's like a slasher movie, and he's having these like visions. So he's actually killing the people, and in his head he's having all these weird visions about some creature, but it doesn't exist. And then at the very end, you actually
That
find out.
sounds way better. Even Chelsea said, she's like, it's showing too much. There's like it showed too much. So if they would have went the original idea, it would have fared out better for like audiences and stuff like that. Is it's more clever to be on the psychological aspect of things rather than what you've seen with some of these movies. Like in all like retrospect, I don't know, like The Ring could have been better, or The Grudge. In some of these movies where they like, I don't know, they're like, oh, we gotta have jump scares and do that. Like the producers are always there in the ear of the people because they control it through the money like system, right? It's like how realistically, it's like the way the governments are like, well, we have all your money because we stole it from you, and now we're going to tell you how you should live, even though you elect us to represent you, but we don't really. We're just representing the people that paid us and the lobbyist groups or whatever, right? And it's the same thing with cinema, where they're like, well, we paid you the money, and so you have to do it the way we do it. That's why I'm like, is it just a weird offshoot? It's the politicians, right? They're like, the lobbyist groups and the people that fund their campaigns are the people that really tell them what to do. And it's the same way with movies, is the people that producers that fund the movie to be made. Like, I have this great idea. Like, I have it all worked out. It's going to be awesome. Like, audiences are going to love it. And then producers like, no, it's my money, so you'll do what I say. And then you see these movies come out, and it's like, we still enjoy them for what they're worth, but they could be a lot better. And considering I didn't know any of this stuff about what the film could have been, and it sounds better than what the final product that we got.
And you know what's crazy? When I listened to, so there's two commentary tracks on the DVD. You have there's the writer's commentary, which is a bit more, I wouldn't say serious, but like they're kind of talking about a lot of this stuff. And then the filmmaker commentaries, it has like one of the producers, one of the guys I think that done a script rewrite. I think he might have actually written the script for Scream 7 as well. Something Vanderbilt, James Vanderbilt or something.
I saw some things about snow and stuff, so I don't know.
And a couple of other guys, the director and a few other people. And like, I have to say, it was actually a hard listen for me. They basically just made fun of the entire thing for the whole commentary, but not in like a funny way. It was more in like a kind of a cringy, like
sad way.
Yeah, I was like, this is not even like funny what you're doing, but it kind of shows you though how much interference there was and how many different people had different ideas, and that the movie ended up just being a lot of little ideas just mashed into like an 86-minute movie.
See, if I had a foolproof script and something I wrote out that I was passionate about, and then I saw the final product of like, just like trust the process, you'll get your name into Hollywood or whatever, and it turned out something completely different than what I wrote. I would command God to set Hollywood on fire. Like
one of the writers. One of the writers was commissioned. He done 26 different drafts, just one writer. And then there was a guy brought in when they picked one of his scripts, they brought another guy in to like rewrite that. And then they brought another guy in to rewrite his rewrite.
We've seen this time and time again, all the time, where it's just like, like this guy comes in, like, especially like when you think about some of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies that we covered for the deep dive, is that they always harken back to that, because those are movies that like somebody had an idea, a foolproof idea, a script was written out, and then someone was like, oh, we need 6 other people involved to write the script. Doesn't make sense. And you know what? And this is why you kind of got to give it to like people like Rob Zombie. Whatever. He did it the way that he fucking wanted it to go. And that's it. He made it the way he wanted it to. There's no one telling him to do it this way or that way. He made, even though Halloween 2 is
Halloween.
Halloween is absolutely garbage. I would rather watch, I think Halloween 2 is terrible, but I'd rather watch that than Halloween Ends. And don't worry, this year coming up near Halloween, me and Aaron are going to do a watch along. We'll do it on Rumble, and we'll really try to promote it maybe and get people into to watch. So Just again for people that are listening, watching, whatever, please support us on Rumble because there's more stuff we can do on there on Class Horrorcast. But you have too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Yeah,
too many,
and that's
too many chefs, not enough cooks.
That's definitely what happened here. And then it's really weird because when they decided to completely change it, not make it R-rated, make it PG-13 and whatever, and like more appealing to like the teenage group, they brought Stan Winston in. Now, I don't know if you know Stan Winston, but like he done like Jurassic Park. He's basically done any big special effects like literally any big movie that you could possibly think of, his studio was involved in. Like Terminator 2, fucking The Thing, Aliens, Jurassic Park, Predators, Inspector Gadget, Iron Man, Edward Scissorhands.
Inspector Gadget is, not gonna lie, a movie I'd love to cover on Off-Brand because like I really enjoyed it as a kid.
He has a serious like filmography. Batman Returns, Avatar, let's see, The Relic.
I actually really enjoyed the Avatar movies.
Indiana
both
Jones.
both of them were like same story, whatever, but very enjoyable movies that keep you entertained the whole time.
Dude, there's loads of movies here that we all love as well. Lake Placid, Small Soldiers.
I haven't seen Lake Placid since I was a kid.
Wrong Turn. He done. Let's see what else. Skinwalkers, Shutter Island, Pandorum, G.I. Joe. Like
I bought that DVD of Wrong Turns, all of them. So I'm gonna have to watch all of them at some point. We'll have to cover. I know you want to, but I've never seen the third one, and man, everyone's like, we're gonna do a Wrong Turn deep dive. So I started watching them all, and I was like, by the third one, I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, they're hard work, but they brought Stan Winston in, and then the design changed completely to you know what, right? So I don't necessarily hate
it. Looks like Freddy Krueger's girlfriend.
Yeah, but right, just bear with me for a sec, right? It's like a mix between Freddy Krueger's girlfriend and Imhotep from The Mummy. I don't necessarily hate it. I just think I hate it after I know what the kind of original idea may have been. If you know what I mean.
I know.
Kind of, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can buy this anymore now, considering that I
don't mind it. Like, I don't mind the idea of the porcelain mask and having her be like this disfigured
Crypt Keeper.
I know. So I'm like, they kind of went lazy with it and just like stole designs from other things, it seems like. But I get the idea of her being like a deformed, burnt creature or whatever. Like essentially, she's a witch. They turned her into a witch because she cursed. The idea she put a curse on them. So like realistically, she turned into a witch, even though she wasn't meant to be a witch. And now she's essentially the design that they made was just her as a burnt witch. Right?
Yeah, so, right.
It is very similar to like Freddy Krueger, Crypt Keeper, Emotep. Is that how you say his name? Hemotep. He's like an emo kid. He's got long black hair.
But again, right, even with this new design, there was lots of other stuff I didn't realize. So like there's a feature on the DVD that I never heard of, didn't know anything about it, called The Legend of Matilda Dixon, which explains the real life story behind the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And so according to this documentary, it's shot like a documentary. It kind of reminds you of like Blair Witch kind of. Remember they had like the Blair Witch Project movie, but then they had a documentary that came out called The Curse of the Blair Witch, which was meant to give you the lore of the Blair Witch to make you think that the movie was actually real or based on a real thing. So in the documentary, Matilda and her husband Sonny arrived to Port Fairy in Australia as newlyweds. She was a baker, he was a local fisherman, and he ended up dying at sea in some bad storm in 1836. It was known around the town that she would bake treats for children who had lost their baby teeth. She was injured in an accident which disfigured her face. An oven blew up and it burnt all of her face and left her all fucked up looking. So this is where the she became really reclusive because of this. And she would only bring the treats at night and kind of started to become a bit of a weirdo. And like she would wear this porcelain mask because she didn't want anyone to like be freaked out by her. And like obviously that started to kind of, I don't know, make people tease the fact that, okay, she doesn't come out anymore. She delivers treats onto kids' doorsteps in the middle of the night wearing a porcelain mask. So then
Imagine that in like the 1800s, dude. Like it would be a little weird. People were
instantly
already
like,
a little weird and stinky
witch.
back then, but like that would be like freaky, man.
So then one day in 1841, two children who were said to be visiting her never returned home. The town blamed her and an angry mob lynched her before the children were later found unharmed. And it had nothing to do with her.
Yeah, I remember that from the beginning. And like it's a like I love the premise. I love the concept of the idea. I'm not saying I necessarily don't like this movie. Weirdly, it will always hold a special place in my heart because I remember when I first watched it. There's these movies that honestly, the audience, if you don't understand, if you never like, if you're a younger kid, some of these young kids I work with, it's funny, like they're like living in the old days sometimes. No concept of like, especially movies. They listen to a lot of older music, I find. Like we have two like pretty younger kids that are working there, pretty smart kids or whatever, and they'll listen to like Gay DC and like Zeppelin and stuff like that. But when I'm like, oh yeah, you've seen this movie or whatever, and like no, but I'm like, people understand too. Like I don't really watch a lot of movies, and they're like crafty kids they're working on his buddy's truck or whatever, which I think is really good. But like people don't understand why cinema was important to people like you and me, and even like people like Brett, my buddy that's been on my podcast, is because like he didn't have the internet. He still doesn't have the internet, and then where he like lives in the back of his property and stuff like that. So he watches a lot of like movies that he buys for cheap, especially nowadays. But that people don't understand, like cinema wasn't this thing that you just had instant access to, and you could just choose, oh, I'll just watch a podcast on YouTube instead of watching a movie, which like I do. I enjoy doing that stuff. Like I love a podcast. I mostly do my own shows. It's hard to keep up with everything, but like Kill Tony is something that I'll watch, right? Like I'd rather watch that than watch really a movie some nights because I can just laugh at like comics because I love comedy and humor. But like people don't understand what it was like back in the day where like that was like you go to the movies on, it'd be like once a month mostly because you can really like it was pretty cheap, or like you're like when you're 12 13, that's where you go see like go to movies, and it just be this very immersive experience. And then you would like really be looking forward to, because you only had shitty cable television that'd be replaying garbage movies or stupid television shows. Like we had YTV and all that stuff in Canada, fun kids shows. But that thing where you like, yeah, let's go to the convenience store, like a Blockbuster, and we'll grab like we'll find the good new movie if it's there. And it was a different feeling. For people that don't understand what it was like, it was a different feeling. That's why movies like this have always stuck with me, of like, and we recently talked about this where I was like, man, I haven't seen that in so long. Like I'm actually kind of excited to watch it. And I was, and there was like parts of it where I was like, wow, man.
Yeah, and look, that's probably why maybe sometimes people might say, oh, why does Aaron always seem to love everything or whatever? But it's like, I'd probably give them a pass because of that nostalgia. Yeah, and of that feeling. So there's definitely a degree of that. But like that whole backstory, that featurette thing with the legend of Matilda Dixon, she so the town had killed her or whatever, and it was like by mistake. She didn't actually do anything to the kids. They find that out afterwards, but they're just kind of like, yeah, just like the Freddy Krueger thing, kind of. It's like, oh, don't say anything about it, just don't talk about it ever again. And the town, I think, got some little memorial thing made out to her, kind of, I suppose, as like an apology or whatever. It was like,
we're sorry.
Matilda Dixon, like in memory of blah blah blah, all this shit. And
that
like,
should be enough for her. Okay, come on.
I think they might have even put on it like, haha, the tooth fairy thing or whatever. And this is how like her connection with, like you said, she was kind of a witch, but then kind of took on this like tooth fairy lore thing. And supposedly over 60 years passed, there wasn't an issue until some local kids broke the plaque and stole it and vandalized the area where they had a little garden for her. And then the teens who carried this out are seen to have disappeared, and there was a curse brought onto the town. And it kind of
What does that remind me of? That reminds me of another movie.
definitely see though how these guys, the creative guys involved, definitely had their finger on the pulse of like, we're onto something here. If we could be left alone, we could have probably had a pretty good movie and like a pretty good backstory.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was reading more into
That's
it.
based on like real witch folklore. There's one, okay, I'll never remember her name, but like where she was a witch that would curse the town, and then you could see her imprint, the hand of her imprint, like on the weird.
It's
On
spooky.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. On the stone, and like she like died there, and then her hand is like imprinted on the stone. A real story.
Yeah, so according to John, I think it's Hegeman, who was the producer, I think, of Darkness Falls. So they were already filming the movie in Melbourne at this point, and he decided that he wanted to make a backstory, saying that every good movie needs a mythology. Funny enough, actually, John was the marketing executive behind Blair Witch in 1999. He understood how important it was to create a timeline mixed with real events. So, upon finding a book about the history of Port Fairy in the production office, it seemed a good fit, saying, why not a tooth fairy in a town called Port Fairy? So, he mixed actual folklore from the place that it was supposed to be with like their mythology and kind of crossed it all up. So, I think if there had been more push put on that, it definitely would have.
Do you think they called it Port Fairy because a bunch of seamen were at the
Wow.
port?
Seamen.
you know where I'm going.
The guy actually who plays Kyle in this,
He's
Cheney
in like
Clay,
nothing.
you know
I
why?
looked him up, dude.
Yeah, you know
Nothing.
why? Because he's fucking dead since
What?
2007. Yeah, he died in 2007, right? And his dad
Whoa,
came
I
out.
didn't read that. I was looking up what he was in because I was like, oh, he's like in like
Yeah, 'cause
nothing.
I literally thought the same thing. I was like, how did he like? Because this was a really popular movie and done really well at the box office. And I was
It
like,
did
why didn't
that
he just?
well. I remember
Yeah,
like
for the
it was
time.
that time. Yeah, everyone went and saw horror
And you
movies.
see, I think what happened was then the studio kind of looked at the creatives and went, "Ha, see, we told you it would do well with the teens. We told you it was a good idea to do
Exactly.
PG-13 because they sold so many tickets." And I was looking, I was like, "How did this guy just disappear into obscurity? Seems like an okay actor, a good-looking guy. He'd fit all those kind of roles for that time period." And then I look up and I find out that he had died in 2007, and his dad had said he had a breathing issue. He suffered with sleep apnea. But then apparently, when his autopsy was performed, he was after having a drug overdose. So
That's
yeah,
really sad.
yeah, bit
That's
grim.
crazy.
'Cause I
Oh.
literally thought the exact same thing. I was like, why isn't this dude ever in anything? And then I
Weird.
went, yeah, and I went to his IMDb and it was like died 2007, and I was like, what?
I'm so weird. I didn't catch that because I was like looking up like the actors and stuff while I was watching it. That's like actually that's sad, man. And that's what happens. They get Hollywood, get money, and it takes one wrong turn into drugs, and you're gone forever, man.
Also, actually, speaking of actors and actresses, so Emma Caulfield Ford, who plays Caitlin, the adult version of Caitlin.
I didn't think her acting was that bad. I think everyone subpar, but like still, it was like believable.
You won't like her after this, I hope. So she has actually publicly disowned the movie and says that the only thing she remembers fondly is the paycheck she got because it was very large.
These people are garbage humans, man. Like, come on. These things that give you like access into like Hollywood, and you got so there could have been another female that wanted the part and
Yep.
could have used it.
Yep.
But you're
And actually
just
wanted to be in it.
just like Jennifer Aniston. Well, I'll never forget that where she's on like whatever for Leprechaun. Fuck you. It gave you like your start into like the world of cinema and movies, and oh my fucking hate that.
Yeah, like this.
Especially with
chick,
actors, man.
this chick was in. So she was in Darkness Falls. Then after that got her a role. 85 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer she done after Darkness Falls.
I'm really trying to make the wife watch that, and she's not going for it. And I'm like, come on.
Oh, so good. But like, yeah, well, I would say this movie probably made her career in a way, and it really pisses me off.
I
every
saw
time
that
I
she
hear
had a
these
decent
stories
career.
where like they're like, and that's literally a quote from her where she said, that she disowns the movie, but the only thing she remembers fondly is the very large paycheck.
And that's like kind of despicable to me in some
Yeah, it's
regard of
comedy.
like, this is kind of what helped build your career and open doors for you. And then you're like, no, then you know what? If you think that, take that money that you were paid to do this movie and give it to something important instead of being like like in
Yeah, disown the money.
yeah
Disown the
stop
money
being
is
so
what I would use.
like ungrateful for is ungrateful the word was in ungrateful right
Ungrateful, yeah, ungrateful. I think
I want to say ingrateful I was like that doesn't
I'm
make sense.
I'm illiterate as well, so it's probably not the best answer.
But like that's like just like savage to be like oh no this thing like I would never if I was an actor I was always would have loved to have been an actor in some regard. I'm a creative type, they say, and I would never like be like, I shouldn't have done this. It's things that like help you grow as a person and develop your character and your career and stuff like that, right? So like, as much as I hated the older episodes of Strange Brew podcast and we were drunk and wasted and doing dumb stuff and saying dumb jokes, like without that, we wouldn't be a show, right? So kind of have to like embrace what it is.
There's so many little things in this movie as well that I love. Like they have I don't know if it's in the movie or if it was in one of those special features where they talk about Matilda's dying words or whatever. She says, and it reminds me of things like dead
Fuck
silence.
you.
Motherfuckers. I didn't kill those kids. But it reminds me of like Dead Silence and a few of other kind of movies that give me that similar vibe. Where she says, "What I took before in kindness, I will take forever in revenge." And I don't know why that like stuck out to me. I was like, "That's like a really good line for like
Kind
a
of gnarly. I
witch
can't remember
character."
who I was talking to recently. I've never seen. Maybe he's like brother saying that's never seen Dead Silence. I was like, one of the best of the best. That movie is quite good. If you haven't checked out our deep dive, definitely check it out. But I even wrote down like it's the good old '90s. There's rock in it. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Like, I kind of like that aspect of
Soundtrack
it.
is
I'm like,
so good.
it was like early 2000s, late 90s rock that was in a fair amount of scenes within the movie. Which, and like I said, if you don't understand what it's like to grow up in the 90s, and a lot of like 80s and even 70s, like people from the 70s and 80s will appreciate that too because they were maybe taking their kids to this. Or there's always been diehard horror movie fans, especially like after what the 80s produced, and then like seeing some of these like it's kind of fun with that like that rock that they bring into it. I was like, essentially, this kid's just living with trauma, and like nobody really cared. They're like all making fun of him. He's the kid that killed his mom, and it's just like even though he's like been completely traumatized by this, and then though everyone's like he's a terrible person, you know what I mean? He left for a reason. He's been traumatized and in like hospitals his entire life because he saw some sort of demonic like entity kill his mother. You know what I mean? That would be frightening. And the opening scene, I think, is pretty good. Like there's like things that they could have changed and done better, whatever. Like I've said numerous times, we got what we got for what this is. It's still a fun film.
Yeah, like I do think there's a lot of those scenes like that bar scene. I actually enjoyed that. I love the idea that even though he's in a place like that's really crowded, you can still kind of feel the like spookiness of like the darkness, how important it is for him to not be in the dark in his head, or like the idea that he has like this bag full of flashlights all the time, and he's like become,
I know.
I guess, like psychotic to the point of like, and I could
Like
see as well. They really wanted to play on, and it doesn't come across in the movie at all now. Wait, if you listen to the commentary while you're watching it, then you kind of pick up on all the little things when they point it out. But if you just watch it as just a general audience, it doesn't come across at all. But like there was all those little things in it where the audience as well as the characters in the movie were supposed to be kind of looking at him as like even the scene where they explain to Caitlin, they're like, yeah, he spent like all of his life in like mental hospitals and stuff. You're supposed to be looking at him going, oh, I get it now. He's like some like schizophrenic lunatic that's like suffering, like you said, from a traumatic experience, and he's manifesting that, and maybe he's actually carrying out the murders, but in his head,
that would have played off way better. Like my wife would have enjoyed that more because the fact that it's like more of a psychological thriller aspect to it, right? And even like the kid, the sign that will always stick with me is the kid that what's his name wants to save or whatever.
Oh,
He was fairly creepy.
he was very good. I actually wrote that down. I said the performance of Lee Cormie, who plays Michael,
I thought it
the
was
kid
great.
in the movie, was very underrated and reminded me an awful lot of something like The Sixth Sense.
I thought it was that kid at one point when I first started watching. I was like, "Is it that kid?" And I was like, "No, it's not." But like, he did a fairly good job of just like it was believable for what like a kid
Yeah,
would act.
yeah.
It could have been way worse for his, especially his age and his acting ability. Um, for some reason, I wrote down Larry, because like at one point I think he's like screaming for his like Jewish lawyer friend or whatever. And he's like Larry, and like people like he's freaking out about his like friend. There's like in that there's some kind of goofy scenes in this for sure. Like even the idea of why they always do this thing of like and they like suck somebody off. That sounds real gay. But like
It
off of
talked
this
about that as well. So
off of the
originally,
camera where it's like when the guys that are looking for him like I'm gonna beat you
yeah,
up,
and they go
I'm
like,
gonna come find you. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's like and he's like
yeah.
gone. The scene of her in the tree is kind of creepy when
Oh, when
he's like,
she
what
like
the
goes,
fuck is
she goes
that?
like back behind the thing real slow.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
would have kept it kind of like that throughout the entire film of just having it kind of semi show her like just like all of a sudden she's a little bit there, she's a little bit there, and it's like up to the audience. Like my grandfather was like into like horror and stuff like to some extent. Rest in peace or whatever. Like he liked the things like Hitchcock and stuff like that because you show enough where you can play psychologically with the person's mind throughout the film.
You fill in the
But
blanks.
but exactly, but you're not showing enough. Like he loved like House on Haunted Hill, the original stuff like that, and like Abbott and Costello. I've told you this before, and that's what kind of like but then my mom even like she was into Friday 13. She's not even into horror anymore at all, but she's like someone who went and saw Friday 13 in theaters, loved horror movies as a youth. But I'm like, I don't think I'll ever lose that like she did, where I'm always have liked these movies and will continue to watch them. But like you gotta leave it somewhat up to the imagination. Like even like one of your favorite movies of all time that we're definitely gonna do we'll do a big maybe deep dive 2-hour live special or something like that. But like the Blair Witch, like because I'd like to even do a watch along and then do its own episode because I know how much you love it. And that movie like did leave it up to the audience a lot to figure out what was going on. And you can do that in a really intelligent way rather than some of the stuff that they've been doing now.
This had potential for that, and that thing actually, just before I forget, that thing you're talking
Yeah.
about where everyone just gets that same kill of like, and they just
Yeah,
like fly away.
sucked off scene.
So what happened there was originally they wanted to
Cops.
make
Yeah.
all the deaths graphic, and they wanted to show like gore and like how
Probably would have been better.
like how kind of serious and scary she was. But then what happened obviously is when the studio said, "Nah, I think what we're going to do is I know that scripture is rated R, but we're looking for
We want a
PG.
bigger audience. We
Yeah,
want to make the money."
we want PG-13. So what you're going to do now is all those kill scenes, those really cool set pieces you have ready, get rid of all them, right? And everybody is just going to die like this.
Yeah, I know. That's literally what
it.
it looks like.
That's literally just everybody's just going to die like that. You're going to fly through a window. You're going to fly up into a tree. You're going to fly behind a bush, whatever, and that's it. Done.
It's so disappointing because like these things, it could be better, but for some reason they always want to do this thing of like, well, we need to reach larger audiences. And not gonna lie, without this, like I don't even know. Maybe I saw this in theaters. I can't really pinpoint when I actually saw this movie because I was one of those kids that would go to the movie theaters to hit on chicks and stuff like that. Our movie theater was in a mall, so you could like go to like what they call the bulk barn. And then you'd like be able to get candy and stuff like that, and you'd sneak it in to the theaters because everything's kind of expensive. You can get the candy you wanted to eat, and it was a lot cheaper. So you kind of like hide it in your coat or your bag or whatever like that. And what are you looking at? Is this some sort of fly?
Yeah, no. I was literally just thinking myself here. That was the weirdest thing I've ever. I literally just thought I seen like what looked like smoke go across the top of the two screens.
That's
It
weird.
was so bizarre. I was just thinking because you just a few minutes ago were looking at the green screen behind you going, I didn't touch that. And I was literally just, maybe it was my eyes, but I was like, wow, that really spooked me out to the point where I have goosebumps.
Weird. Maybe there's something to do with it. This movie's cursed. Just
Weird.
letting you nobody knows about it because it's like now like been forgotten forever. There's some memorable moments. Like there's no way they sent a search party out for a grown man missing for a couple of minutes.
I know, right? Yeah,
It's just like all of a sudden it's 2 minutes later and there's a bunch of cops and a bunch of people from the bar or whatever
the original
you're gonna
point.
waste your time. I'd be like, fuck that guy, man. I'm drinking. You know what I mean? Like
The original point there, you see, is we as the audience were supposed to know that everybody there suspected that Kyle was some sort of serial killer.
so then all of a sudden we're looking for the one person that
But then it's like when you don't have any of that explanation, it just looks like it's like, okay, a guy walks out of a bar and now there's 25 cops looking for him for no reason. I wrote down actually the doctor scene when they're talking about the sensory deprivation tank and like the idea of the kid confronting the fear of the dark. I thought that was kind of interesting, but I couldn't help but notice that the machine that they were putting him in was actually an MRI machine, which upon further research was the original script. The kid was going into an MRI machine, and the whole idea was they were putting him into an MRI machine to see did he have any sort of like crazy brain damage or tumors or anything like that. And for some reason, I don't know if it was like a studio executive or someone was like, nah, make it a sensory deprivation thing and
that's not what it is.
Make up a thing about like injecting dye into him or something as well. Yeah, it's just like just make that up for some reason also that has nothing to do with anything. Because the guys talk about it like we actually really had no idea why that was all changed. But we already had the MRI machine and also we just had to pretend that was something else.
Weird, man. I'm kind of disappointed with the amount of things that they did change. I feel like there's another movie like that, where they put him in an MRI machine or like something like that. Like, is it a New Nightmare or something? We're like in the hospital.
We've definitely uncovered so much of this though. It's definitely a big trend in horror where like movies that have the potential to be fucking brilliant just get ripped apart by executives. I did write down that I liked the scene where Kyla's in the cell and the power to the town cuts out and like all the thunder and lightning starts, and I thought that had a really like classic kind of horror vibe. And kind
just
of
some of the scenes of like her, I'm like, they could have been better. Like it is memorable, the porcelain mask to some extent, just because I remember watching it when I was a kid, you know, and how it was that PG-13 vibe. Now, if it was R-rated, it would have been a lot different. And how she's kind of just like just flailing through the screens. I don't know how the word to, but you know what I mean? Like she's kind of just like, wow, it's all of a sudden shows up and you just see bits and pieces, which they could have done better than they kind of did.
Yeah, it's a weird one. This is a screen test with Sam Winston of like their feature effect or whatever. It's kind of crazy to think that all that stuff is like puppets.
Oh, enough of this fun and games.
Right, too much fun.
You know what? What? I kind of think you could have used a real person though.
I know, right? That's what I was actually
anorexic chick and then put her in like a bunch of makeup. I don't understand why they needed to spend the money on the like.
I think the idea for those things was they wanted them suspended on wires up in the air.
Yeah, it's lighter.
I think that was the idea.
I assume that's what it would be because it's lighter and it would have been able to like carry across the screen, quicker, faster. I just like there's part of me it's like I don't know, like even watching that I was like, is that a real person? I realized, oh, it's a puppet, and I'm like, but why?
I know, yeah.
And then why not stick with the original design?
A lot of money.
Anyway? So weird. The amount of money that they just waste throwing it away.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine how much money they wasted on this. I had written down, I do think this movie suffered severely from studio involvement, and it looks like they were trying to play it right down the middle. Didn't go too much to either side, and it just made it seem not overly creative in many ways, unfortunately, which is really unfortunate considering a lot of the people that were involved from an early stage seemed quite passionate about the idea. Like, I mean, this got a
Yeah.
Darkness Falls, Dark Horse Comics done a full um, prequel comic about Matilda Dixon and like the whole legend of Matilda Dixon. One of the original scripts and the monster designs, there was scenes showing the creature was like in another dimension, and she was in this like weird house that was made of baby's teeth,
It's
and
kind of creepy.
it was like, but it was all like bloody and shit. That was supposed to be really graphic. It wasn't just like teeth. It was like, like the root of the fucking tooth and like all the
Yeah.
scummy, rotten stuff as
Nobody
well.
likes the dentist, so.
No. But yeah, look, I had written this down, and it's something I think we've talked about a lot already. Many people think that there's big plot holes in the movie, but when I listened to the writer's commentary, I found out that 99% of these all actually made sense at one point in the process until multiple rewrites, multiple reshoots. I think they actually went back like 6 or 8 months after they shot the initial movie
Yeah.
and reshot scenes again and like inserted them in. So like they went back and done reshoots like way after.
That's what, and it, whatever. It's like, it's so crazy because it ends up mixing up a lot of the original product. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
it's annoying. Anyone though that's like into movies or maybe likes this movie as much as I do, just for nostalgia or whatever. If you haven't got the DVD or whatever, it's actually worth picking up. You'd probably pick it up for like $1. Like there's shit tons of extras. There's all the deleted scenes. There are 2 commentaries, one with the writers and one with the filmmakers. There's a 17-minute making of documentary. There's the Legend of Matilda Dixon documentary. There's storyboard comparisons. There's trailers. Like there's a shit ton of stuff in the extras, which is something I love about them old school releases. And I think is why I'll always pick up cheap movies when I see them in like a secondhand store.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to build on my collection again, was going to like antique stores. Because I can get like like 10 movies for like $30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Less than that probably. Right. And that's
And
why I
it's like,
do that. You have a huge collection, and I'm trying to build
and all that has come from like I see people put stuff on like Facebook Marketplace and they're like, oh, I have a box of horror movies that I'm selling for like €20.
Yeah, that's
And
actually
I'm
really
like, yeah, I'll
good.
take them. And the reason being was because I think it was something you said a long time ago, where like, what happens if they just decide that a particular movie or whatever, or a version of a movie or a commentary track that they don't like anymore or whatever, they just decide, oh, that's just unavailable anywhere.
I know.
So unless you have the physical release, then that's it then.
Think about something that we covered, which more got released to my side of things, was Nosferatu, right? Like, think about, like, at one point they wanted to get rid of that. Bram Stoker's wife wanted it gone, and without the people that already had it released in America, it might have never seen the light of day. People wouldn't even know really what it was, or how infamous that movie really is as a silent, one of the first horror films really to grace the movie screens and to freak audiences out and bring us into the world of horror that we're in today. They wanted it shut down. So I don't know, it's so freaky, but there's some scene, like I'm like, you're like Freddy Krueger. What the fuck is going on with that shit? That would be way the design that they originally wanted was way more unique, especially at that time.
Mm.
And
it's such a change as well. Like to go from
it does look like that Japanese legend though.
It does, yeah. It does very much so. But it's literally, somebody must have sat down with Stan Winston Studios though and said, okay, here's what we've already got done. Now I want you to do the complete opposite. I don't want you to do anything.
Me a burnt witch. Like, it's so
you just
weird.
don't make that at all. Make something completely different. And you know what the craziest part is? They obviously got so far along in the development process that they already had like this stuff
I know.
pretty much half built. And the fact that they signed contracts for McFarlane Toys to make the toy. And that's why when McFarlane released it, people couldn't understand, because it released in a line, let's say, right? And it had let's say it had like a Texas Chainsaw figure, a Freddy Krueger figure, and a Chucky figure. And then it had this random figure of the Tooth Fairy, and people were like, why is this in Movie Maniacs though? Because there's no movie called The Tooth Fairy that looks like that. Not
Weird.
realizing that
Yeah.
it was supposed to be A Darkness Falls. The original
Huh.
title was The Tooth Fairy, and it
And
looked
they
like
already
that.
spent the time to make it.
Yeah, so he already had the molds done, and I think that the studio just went, fuck, I don't give a
It
fuck.
makes more sense to make it like some sort of paranormal creature of like a tooth fairy, and that's what she embodies because of her death. Right? Like it, I don't know, kind of makes more sense than, oh, well, let's turn her into a witch, man. Let's make her a witch. Everyone loves witches. That's what it seems like they kind of did.
Yeah, which is strange.
Yeah, I
but yeah,
enjoyed this. I thought we did a good job. For what it is, people will probably enjoy this, but it's only nostalgic if you remember what it was like to see
yeah,
this
yeah,
theaters
that's
as a
my thing.
kid.
You're probably definitely going to enjoy it infinitely more if you have a
Yeah.
memory of seeing it back at the time or around the time. Just written down, movie definitely has a really, really cool premise. Feels like it has a high glass production value at times and a
Mhm.
really interesting villain, but it's just like there's something always missing where I'm like, you just, oh.
My wife even said she's like the acting is subpar. Like it's
Very
not
strange as
good.
well. They cast all Australian actors and asked them to do American accents. The only two actors in the
Weird.
movie are the two leads, Kyle and Caitlin. They're the only two Americans. The rest of them are all Australian.
Let's give the Aussies something. Just like give them something.
How many out of 10 baby tooths? How many baby tooths are you giving it?
Okay, so I will say if this is my first viewing, I'll give you a 2. If this is my first viewing, like I've never seen it, I would say like a 4.5. But because I have a fond memory of this movie and kind of remember when it came out, and it was at the time when I was really starting to get into horror movies. I was either 10, 11 or a preteen kind of thing. Like I would have been 12 when this came out in theaters. So I was about I'll give it a 6.5.
That's literally the score I was going to give it based
Okay,
on the
yeah.
fact that like I already do
Because
like
it's
it.
nostalgic to me.
Yeah, like, and I have to be somewhat, look, I could go, with nostalgia, I'll give it a fucking 9.5, which is
Yeah,
what my
they hit
brain
me
always
that.
wants to do.
Yeah.
Because every time I have nostalgia for horror or anything like that, whether it could be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something that I know technically is not that good, I
Mhm.
instantly go, 10 out of 10. Because I remember that when I was a kid and I watched it with my granddad.
Yeah.
Or I remember my dad brought me to the video store, so I have to give it a 10 out of 10. But if I'm being realistic, probably a 6.5 with nostalgia. Had I have never seen it before and I'm watching it 22 years
Maybe
after it comes out,
3.5.
yeah, I'm probably giving it like a 3 or a 4, like, because it's
Yeah.
just not very good overall. And it just doesn't, without maybe listening to something like this or the commentary tracks on the DVD, you're going to have no context as to,
What it could have been.
yeah, and I feel like you'll sit there for the entire thing, go, why though? Why? Why is he
Maybe
here when he's there? Why does he have
yeah.
scars on his or cuts on his face and then doesn't? Why does he do that? Why did they just leave the bar and now there's a search party? Why this? Why is everyone looking at him weird? Why did he go over and punch him in the head or choke him or whatever he done? There's no context. We don't know what any of that's about.
No, and that's like, I don't know, maybe it is always things could be at a point I was gonna make, I can't remember. Things could always be made that if they followed through with the original ideas, then we get these a lot. I can't remember. I was gonna say something else, but I can't think of it now. But the only reason some of these movies stick out to me is because I remember, there's those peak times when you're like a preteen and you kind of remember seeing these films in theaters. Like I know eventually you want to do that. What's that movie called? The Last Call or whatever. Or the have you checked the children or whatever? I remember seeing that in theaters. That always stick with me, and I haven't seen that because I told you I'm not going to watch it until we cover it. But
Another one that I just have so much nostalgia for.
I know, and it's like some of you are like it's terrible, but it's like I don't know. It's not what you like when you're watching that stuff as a young kid. It sits differently. Like you show like a 15-year-old kid and they've never seen Friday the 13th like part 3. This is stupid. It's like, oh no, it was quite something. It's quite something when you were a kid, but yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoy doing some of these, especially movies that I either haven't seen in a long time or holds kind of a special place in my heart, or like a memory, you know, especially at this time. Like, I was born in 1991, right? So like a lot of these movies that, like late 90s, early 2000s, they stuck out to me around that time, because there was movies even for like 92 or the 80s, like Friday the 13th or whatever, right? But they were still in the public consciousness of like horror. So you would search out these movie franchises to some extent, or things that just came out, just because you watched maybe like you watched 3 or 4 horror movies, and you're like, man, I kind of like this as a young kid, you're interested by it. And then it kind of like leads into the passion aspect, where you're like, oh, I need to watch everything that has to do with horror, right?
Yeah, there's just I don't know, and it's like you said earlier. I don't think that'll ever go away from me. I don't know if I'll ever lose that flair for like
No, I know.
nerdy shit and nostalgic shit. Not even just with horror. Obviously, horror is like my
Oh,
first love, but
yeah,
I have
all of it.
yeah, like there's a
I have
lot of
like comic
movies,
books
TV
that I've
shows,
never
comic
touched. They're
books,
sitting in.
toys, all that shit that I just remember. But yeah, we appreciate everyone for listening. If you did make it to the end, make sure to subscribe, like, share wherever you're
Means
listening.
more than you think. I'm gonna
Yep.
try to see that unicorn movie this weekend. I'm hoping.
Oh yeah, same actually. I've seen a lot of
Really?
stuff like that.
I'm
I don't
hoping.
think
I
I'm gonna
want to.
check.
We have free tickets that we need to get rid of, or they're done in April. So like we have to do them now, or it's over. And so I'm like, we're like, oh, we could go see Snow White for free, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. No, thank you.
Boycott.
Oh man, I tried to watch that movie Wicked, and I wanted to throw up. It's terrible. It's god awful. So like, I'm gonna go. So hopefully we can see the unicorn movie. Look kind of fun. So I kind of excited for that. Hopefully we can do like, I wanted like a matinee earlier show. It'd be kind of fun to do and eat some popcorn. But I'm excited, and we have like, for all the fans out there, we're never not gonna have ideas. I have 1,000,001 ideas. Even when we're doing episodes, you hear where I'm like, oh man, I really want, like, I have so many ideas for stuff. So just subscribe, like, and share it, and make sure that you pay attention, to what we're doing. Because if you're
Do
a fan of this,
and definitely let us know what you think. Do you think Darkness Fall deserves a spot among I guess the cult lost supernatural
yeah,
horrors of the early 2000s, or do you think it's a steaming pile of garbage? Let us know in the comments below, or reach out to us on social media. All the links will be down below in the description, and we will see everybody in the next episode.